In the year 2019, the college got approval from UGC to execute the interdisciplinary research project under the scheme of UGC STRIDE Component 1. The short-term course, Oral Tradition of Vedic Education, Structural and Phonetic Perspectives, aims to explore the salient features and significance of the chanting traditions of Kerala, to play a part in the field of research of Vedic phonetics and its derivations in Indian linguistics, and also to put forward the discourse in Tamil traditions living in Kerala, which are not much proud. This course is meant to promote and motivate the institutions and students, those who are teaching and learning the Vedas traditionally. Respecting our rich tradition and system, let's start this function evoking the blessings of Lord Almighty. For the prayer, let me invite Ms. Sridevi, student of Department of History, Sreekrishnpuram Bhattathiripad College, Mangalore.
നന്മയാകുന്ന കാന്തി കാണുവാൻ കണ്ണിനാകേണമേ, നല്ല വാക്കിൻ്റെ ശീലു ചൊല്ലുവാൻ നാവിനാകേണമേ, സ്നേഹമാകുന്ന ഗീതമോ എൻ്റെ കാതിനിണയാകണേ, സത്യമെന്നുള്ള ശീലമോടെന്നെ ശാന്തി അറിയണമേ, നന്മയാകുന്ന കാന്തി കാണുവാൻ കണ്ണിനാകേണമേ, നല്ല വാക്കിൻ്റെ ശീലു ചൊല്ലുവാൻ നാവിനാകേണമേ.
Thank you, Sridevi. To extend a warm welcome, may I request Dr. Parvati KP, Coordinator, University Grants Commission, STRIDE Component 1, Head of the Department, Department of Sanskrit, Sreekrishnpuram Bhattathiripad College, Mannampatta, Palakkad.
Thank you, Arjun. Namasabhayai Sabhapatibhyascha. This unique day of our college, we are really and extremely happy that to be here with the accomplished, distinguished, humble personalities of Indian academic system. And now, Sreekrishnpuram Bhattathiripad College STRIDE Component organizing its fourth academic programs. In the last month, we organized an international conference on ancient Indian astronomy and mathematics. And now, in this month, we are organizing the short-term course, which is a unique program because of the wealth and because of the impact of the and the content of the course. This course, especially this course, means to propagate the Vedic education system. what is the educational culture of India and what was the real tradition of India, especially of Kerala, of Vedic education. This course can, we hope that this course can promote, or this course can propagate the content and the impact of the education philosophy of the Vedic education system to the student, to the common people, and to the academic world of India. We think so. So hearty welcome to all to this unique venture of Sreekrishnpuram V.T. Bhattathiripad College. First of all, we have to welcome the chief guest of this event and the inaugural, who is the inaugural speaker and keynote addressee of this day or this program, Sri Veluthat Kesavan sir. According to the academic world, according to the historians, he is a very, very popular and everyone knows him. He's a leading Indian historian, specialized in the early history and medieval South Indian history. Especially his very well accomplished scholar in the field of Kerala culture and Kerala tradition of Brahmin culture and education system. So we are very, very happy to be with him in this unique session. His famous books, The Political Structure of Early Medieval South India, The Brahmin Settlements in Kerala, Historical Studies, which has been published in 1978, and Society and Culture, Post-Mauryan Period, and so many books in connection with the Indian history, Kerala history, ancient Indian history. All these works are the contributions of his unique knowledge in the historical field or historical analysis. So we are very happy. Warm welcome to sir to be with us. Warm welcome to our Sreekrishnpuram V.T. Bhattathiripad College and this UGC STRIDE Component 1. I welcome you on behalf of our college and on behalf of UGC STRIDE Component 1, all the participants in this program. Welcome, sir, welcome. Now, I would like to welcome our principal. No need an introduction to Jain sir, our principal, who is presiding this session. And I know that he will be with us, and he is with us. So we are really proud that our principal is always being a backbone of all the tasks, all the academic works, all the works in connection with STRIDE Component 1. So he is our real motivator or promoter of each and every task in this program. So hearty welcome to sir for presiding this session and guiding us all over the function. Welcome, sir, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Now, I invite Dr. N M Narayanan, Assistant Professor of Sri Keralavarama College, Trissur. He is the next speaker who is presiding the first, who is chairing the first session of our short-term course on oral traditions of Kerala, phonetic and structural and phonetic perspectives. So some peculiarities of Dr. N M Narayanan, as he is a Vedic scholar, traditional Vedic scholar in Kerala chanting tradition of Rigveda. Also, he is an academician. He is working in the Department of Sanskrit, and he had a number of qualities in these two fields, and a number of works he has done in these two fields. So, moreover to his academic career, now he is our STRIDE Component 1's subject expert also. So, he's introducing the structure and content of the Rigveda in the next session. So, warm welcome to sir, our program. Warm welcome, sir. I invite him on behalf of the UGC STRIDE Component 1, Sreekrishnpuram V.T. Bhattathiripad College. Okay, welcome, sir.
Thank you.
So, okay. Now, we have a lot of participants from all over India, I think, and registered participants from the educational field, academic field, students, research scholars, eminent personalities who are interested in the Vedic cult or traditional Indian education system. All are present here. This is a unique gathering of scholars and students who are interested in the academic field. So I invite all the personalities gathered here from our college, outside of our college, not from the academic field, different fields of personalities are present here. I welcome all of you on behalf of UGC Component 1 and Sreekrishnpuram V.T. Bhattathiripad College. Warm welcome to all. Thank you very much for giving me such a chance to welcome all the personalities present here. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. For the presidential address, let me invite Dr. E. Jayan, our beloved principal, Sreekrishnpuram V.T. Bhattathiripad College, Mannampatta, Palakkad. Welcome, sir.
എല്ലാവർക്കും നമസ്കാരം. സ്ട്രൈഡിന്റെ ശ്രീകൃഷ്ണപുരം V.T. ഭട്ടതിരിപ്പാട് കോളേജ് സ്ട്രൈഡിന്റെ ആഭിമുഖ്യത്തിൽ നടക്കുന്ന 4ാമത്തെ പ്രോഗ്രാമാണിത്. ഈ ഒരു പ്രോഗ്രാമിന് സ്ട്രൈഡിന്റെ ഈ ഒരു പ്രോഗ്രാമിന് നേതൃത്വം കൊടുത്ത അതിന്റെ മാസ്റ്റർ ബ്രെയിൻ എന്ന് പറയുന്ന രതി ടീച്ചർ, അത് ഇംപ്ലിമെന്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് അതിന്റെ കോർഡിനേറ്റർ ആയിട്ടുള്ള പാർവതി ടീച്ചർ, ഇന്നത്തെ ഈ പ്രോഗ്രാമിന്റെ കോർഡിനേറ്റർ ശ്രുതി ടീച്ചർ, ഇന്ന് ഈ പ്രോഗ്രാം ഉദ്ഘാടനം ചെയ്ത് നമ്മളോട് സംസാരിക്കുന്ന ആദരണീയനായ വെളുത്താട്ട് കേശവൻ സാർ, ഈ പ്രോഗ്രാമിൽ 1ാമത്തെ ക്ലാസ് എടുക്കുന്ന എൻ്റെ പ്രിയ സുഹൃത്തുമായിട്ടുള്ള നാരായണൻ സാർ, എല്ലാവർക്കും ഈ പ്രോഗ്രാമിന് പങ്കെടുക്കുന്ന എല്ലാവർക്കും ഒരിക്കൽ കൂടി നമസ്കാരം പറഞ്ഞുകൊണ്ട് ഈ ഒരു പ്രോഗ്രാം വൈദിക വിജ്ഞാന ശാഖയെ അതിൻ്റെ സാംസ്കാരിക തലത്തെക്കുറിച്ച് സ്പർശിച്ചു പോകുന്ന ഈ ഒരു പ്രോഗ്രാമിന് എല്ലാ ഭാവുകങ്ങളും നേർന്നുകൊണ്ട് എൻ്റെ വലിയ വാക്കുകൾ സംസാരിക്കുന്നു. നമസ്കാരം.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have the inaugural session. Dr. Kesavan Veluthat is an Indian historian specializing in early medieval South Indian history. He is also an epigraphist and knows languages such as Sanskrit, Tamil, Kannada, and Malayalam. He is currently serves as a professor in University of Delhi. He is a student of the famous historian M.G.S. Narayan. He is a visiting professor in various universities such as University in Paris, Jawaharlal Nehru University, Delhi, University of Hyderabad, and Mahatma Gandhi University, Kerala. His major publications are Brahmin Settlements in Kerala, Historical Studies, published in the year 1978, The Political Structure of Early Medieval South India, published India 2012. Kerala Through the Ages, published in the year 1976, and many more. Dr. Kesavan Veluthat will be delivering the inaugural speech based on the topic Historical Background of Vedic Literature. With great honor and respect, may I invite Dr. Kesavan Veluthat to deliver his class. The session is all yours, sir. Please, welcome.
Thank you very much. I must begin by congratulating the organizers for taking up such a venture. In fact, Dr. Parvati was telling us that this is the second in the series. It was hardly a month ago that they had organized a program in relation to the ancient mathematics and astronomical traditions. So I not only congratulate them, I place on record my sense of appreciation for the boldness, the courage with which they are taking up this in the very, very difficult situation in which we are. I also thank the organizers, particularly my friend Parvati, for the honor that the organizers have given me by asking me to give the first speech today, which they have chosen to call an inaugural address. In any case, I thank them for this honor. I feel a little strange talking to a computer. I'm used to talking to people in front of me, but here, strangely, it's a computer that I have in front of me. And I talk to the computer, assuming that I'm addressing my friends and colleagues in other parts of the country. As the person who said, the person who introduced said, I'm supposed to be speaking about the historical background of the Vedic literature. Originally, I had intended to speak in Malayalam. Not that my Malayalam is wonderful. I had originally intended to speak in Malayalam, but Dr. Parvati and Dr. Narayanan insisted that I should speak in English. So I will go down to the desires of my friends, and I'll try to speak in English with the text I have prepared in Malayalam in front of me. Since I am asked to speak about the historical background of the Vedic literature, the first question that I'll be concerned with will be in trying to identify what Vedic literature is. What is this thing called Vedic literature? Since the development of the Mimamsa tradition, Vedic literature has been described as whatever is included in the mantras and Brahmanas. Now we have the very famous definition, mantra Brahmanayo Veda Namadheya. Now this definition is a very inclusive definition, and it's not a very innocent thing either. This is in order to counter the arguments of the heterodox traditions, but that is not what we are concerned with. But what we must remember is that in taking up all these different aspects together as a single body of literature, as a single corpus of literature, it gives the impression that this is a single body, a single corpus. There is a single Vedic literature. In reality, it is not so. It contains different kinds of texts. Now, we have the hymns, we have the ritual manuals, we have the texts related to the different sciences in the rituals, and also the recitation of the manual. Everything together is included in what is called Vedic literature. So such a heterodox body of texts included together as a single corpus of literature is what we are dealing with. A second thing that we have to remember is that this is not the product of any single point in time. I must particularly stress this because as a student of history, I am always worried about chronology, about the time of composition of particular texts. So when we look at the Vedic literature, we must remember that this is not the product of a particular point in time. In fact, the texts starting from the early mantras down to the late Brahmanas and Upanishads cover a span of at least 1,000 years. So the question that we have to ask is, what were the texts which was produced first? What were the texts which were produced later? And what were the circumstances under which each of these texts were produced? In order to answer this question, a kind of internal chronology of the Vedic texts is necessary. With all my respect to the traditional practices of Vedic education in India, which I understand is also the concern of the seminar, Vedic education. It is unfortunate that the approach there did not pay attention to this aspect of internal chronology or treating them as different texts. It took the Vedic corpus as a single body of literature without a beginning, without a human agency to create. In the traditional language of Vedic scholars, Vedic scholarship, Veda is supposed to be anadi, without beginning, a timeless, ageless body of literature. That is what Veda is. Similarly, it is thought to be apaurusheya, that is, with no human agency. Naturally, a body of literature cannot have authors, and it cannot be pinned down to points in space and time. Alternatively, a different way of looking at this corpus was inaugurated only in the 18th and 19th centuries, when under the aegis of the English East India Company, the literatures of India were subjected to critical study. To be sure, what prompted early scholars like Sir William Jones, Henry Colebrook, Horace Hayman Wilson, and others was not any innocent curiosity. It was part of an attempt to produce a body of knowledge that would help the colonial masters to establish and maintain their power in the newly acquired colony. They used it primarily to understand the religion, literature, and social organization of the colonial subjects. But gradually, the history of India as critical knowledge began to be written with the help of these texts. The corpus of Vedic literature began to be used as sources for writing history. That is, it was only by the beginning of the 19th century that enquiries of a historical nature began to be addressed to the Vedic literature. The chronological scheme of these scholars was not based on any direct evidence. Nowhere in the Vedic literature is there a mention of the date in which it was composed. The astronomical suggestions found here and there in the corpus will not take us very far. A somewhat unshakable peg on which the texts were tied was the date of the Buddha in the 6th century BCE, about which there was some clarity from other sources. For example, Ashoka's edicts speak about the date of the Buddha's Mahaparinirvana. The Upanishad is not far removed from the Buddha, looking at the contents and the teachings of the great master and the text. Going backward from this, that is from the date of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, it is calculated that the Upanishads, and now I'm going backwards, the Upanishads, the Aranyakas, the Brahmanas, the later Samhitas, the later portions of the Rigveda, and finally its early portions were products with the latest such as the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad and the earliest such as the early hymns of the Rigveda being separated by a gap of at least 1,000 years. Even within the Rigveda, thus it is now recognized that the earliest hymns of the Rigveda were uttered by the seers about 15,000 years before the beginning of the Common Era. Even within the Rigveda, the internal chronology has been fixed. That is, what are called the family books, the second through the seventh mandalas of the Rigveda are the earliest, and the first and tenth are the latest. As chronology is one aspect of our concern, so also geography is another. When we talk about the Veda, we say that this is the heritage of ancient India. But look at the chronology of the Vedic literature. The land of the seven rivers, Sapta Sindhu, was where the early Vedic texts were composed. The rivers mentioned in them, such as Kubha and Kumu, are identified in modern Afghanistan. A few others, such as the Sindhu and its tributaries, such as Sikni, Vistha, Pairushti, flow through Pakistan. With the argument that the now dried up course of Ghaggar Hakra was indeed Saraswati, it flew through parts of modern India and Pakistan. That is, the early layers of the Vedic corpus are concerned with the northwestern parts of South Asian subcontinent. As historical studies about the past, based on what the past has left behind. The Vedic corpus, it should be understood, is only one of such sources. Another, equally or more important source is available from archaeology. The area that we are talking about is luckily one which has received maximum attention so far as historical studies are concerned. Continuous human occupation from the early Stone Age is in evidence in this area. Of the different archaeological cultures unearthed from this area, that which somewhat corresponds with the world that is represented in the Vedic literature is from layers belonging to about 3.5 millennia before the present. Similarly, insights from social sciences that have studied apparent societies such as anthropology, political science, economics, and so on will be helpful in interpreting the literary and archaeological evidences. It is important to bear in mind the semantic changes that languages have gone through. Everyone knows that Vedic Sanskrit and Laukik Sanskrit are different. But this understanding, unfortunately, does not inform interpretation of terms in Vedic literature. To imagine that words used 3,500 years ago continue to be used in the same sense today is likely to lead us to huge problems. Even Sayana, it has been proved, the great commentator has fallen to this. He was, after all, removed from the texts he was commenting on by about 3,000 years. Seen in this way, what were the conditions of the land of the 7 rivers when the first hymns of the Veda were revealed to the seers? The Harappan culture was already declining. A people unknown to that culture had already started life in the villages of the hinterland, living largely on cattle keeping and some marginal agriculture. Their material culture was different from those who lived in the Harappan cities, especially in their cults and practices and the use of animals like the horse. It is by no means implied here that what is called the early Vedic literature represents people or a single culture, a composite culture, with what existed here and what was superimposed on them was evolving. A major factor in this was a people who spoke a language belonging to the Indo-Aryan family and who lived largely by pastoral activities. The hymns of the Rigveda are primarily documents of this people. The emphasis that the Rigveda lays on cattle cannot be exaggerated. The unit of exchanges, such as in dana, dakshina, etc., was the cow. Dowry was calculated in terms of so many cows. The compensation for killing a person called Vargal, that is, the Kshathideya, as it is called in the literature, was again in terms of the cows. There are many accounts of Rigveda. A chief, that is the Rajan, who undertook such cattle raiding expeditions, divided the booty that was captured in such raids among those who had participated in the raid, mostly his own kinsmen. In the sacrifices performed for propitiating the deities too, it was the cow that was killed. It also helped to maintain a balance by disposing of the surplus that society could not otherwise deal with. The arrival of a distinguished guest demanded that he be served with the most delicious food. This meant killing a cow. And the word Gogna literally means one who kills a cow or one who causes a cow to be killed came to mean a guest, because the arrival of a guest meant sure death to a cow. Certain features in society in which the most important means of livelihood is cattle keeping. Production redistribution is there different from other systems of economy. The basic unit of production in that society is the family. It is the labor power of members of the family that was used for purposes of production. For example, I'm carrying cold to Newcastle, I know, but still I'll say that the word for a daughter is Duhitri, and Duhitri literally means one who milks, one who milks. So this means that it was the labor of the members of the family that was involved in economic activities in the pastoral family. One thing about family labor is that there is no separate remuneration, there is no separate reward for family labor. Nor such societies had produced enough surplus with which a remuneration for those who provided labor could be given. And in a society which did not have any trade worth the name, there is no use for surplus. That society did not produce surplus addressed to a market. So, in a pastoral society, what do you do with the surplus milk products? Now, when there is a huge surplus of milk products, it can lead to problems rather than to happy situations. So, such surplus, as was produced, was redistributed among kinsmen, and what could not be redistributed was destroyed, was put into fire. And this also propitiated the deities. So in the name of sacrifices, daily sacrifices of a domestic nature, of a social nature, which lasted for a large number of days, so much of dairy products such as ghee, and also so many cows, they were disposed of. So one of the ways of disposing of surplus was sacrifice. So in the absence of surplus and the unequal distribution of surplus, this society did not have a differentiation within it. And based on this differential distribution, that society was not divided into classes. So a somewhat egalitarian society without the differentiation, a kind of a society which was close to nature, of a tribal character. That is what we can see in the early Vedic texts. The unit of economic activity in this society, as I said earlier, was the family. It was the family also which was the unit of social organization. So the word that we come across in the literature is kula. Of course, you don't have too many mentions of the word kula in the literature, but it was this that we can see in the texts. We had the head of the family known as kulapa. That is, a kula or a family consisted of members belonging to perhaps 2 or maximum 3 generations: grandfather, father, and ego, and their family. So a kind of an extended joint family with 2 or 3 generations was what a kula was. The head of that family was known as kulapa, and several such kulas together constituted what is called a grama. In a grama, now there were a few kulas and kulapas. One among the kulapas would be the head of that grama. He may be chosen because of his physical strength, perhaps because of his gray hair, perhaps because of other qualities that he had. In any case, once he was chosen as the head, he came to be known as the Gramani. And Gramani was a person who would be approached in matters of some dispute. Occasionally, there would be disputes among gramas, one grama with another grama. And in Sanskrit, even in later Laukik Sanskrit, one word for war is sangrama. So when gramas came together, when gramas were talking to one another in language which is not exactly very friendly, it led to what is called sangrama or war. A few gramas together constitute a slightly larger unit. This is called wheat, that is from wish, wheat, visha. Wheat was the unit, and the people who were in the wheat, they were known as, in later Sanskrit, that is, as we come to the later portions of the Rigveda itself, we have this expression in the sense of members of the Vedas. You have Vaishya, the common man, the ordinary man, the common man. You have the Vaishya, and the Raja became the head of the wit. That is Vishampati. Vishampati is one word that we have for the Raja. So, wherever we come across the expression Raja in this literature, we will see him as the head of the people of the settlements, head of people who were looking after their own property in the cattle, etc. So it is more as a Gopati and a Vishampati, a Narapati, that we can see a Raja in this literature. It is interesting to see that the word Gopati, the word Bhupati, which stands for a king in later Sanskrit, does not figure at all in the early Vedic literature, which means that literature did not have any kind of territorial identity, or it was based on lineage, it was based on the kinship groups. Such groups, Janas, for example, which several Visha together constituted what is described as Jana. We have a reference to a large number of Janas. In fact, we have the Panchajanas, the Bharatas, the Trissurs, the Srinjayas, and others. And we have references to the quarrels among these Janas and also between these Panchajanas on the one side and other Janas. And the word Janya for battle again has to be traced from this Jana. These battles were usually caused by, as I was telling earlier, cattle raids, raiding cattle or looking for the cattle that has been raided, and such Gavishti, looking for the cow, came to stand for a battle in the literature. Once the cattle raids were successful, whether it is to retrieve the lost cattle or to raid cattle afresh, once it was successful, the booty that was captured in this way was distributed among different sections, different people who were helpful for the chiefs in such cattle raiding expeditions. So a share came to the person who was following him with his sword and other items. Another for a person who sang the praise of the king. A third one for a person who prayed to gods in innumerable hymns for the success of the. So all of them got a different shares of this. Now, in fact, many of the songs that we have in the Vedic literature, known as Gatha, Narasamsi, Dhanastuti, etc., are hymns related to the apportioning of the booty that is captured in the cattle raids and the remuneration given for these. So the Rajas who were patrons, who were donors of such great gifts, they were praised. Their position was in this way given some kind of a respectability, some kind of a legitimacy as a result of these songs and performance of these rituals. So gradually the Rajendra became a respectable person. And in fact, there is a very interesting book by Dr. Kumkum Roy, who traces the fortunes of the Rajan from, he was one of the many chiefs But this Rajan later develops into the unquestioned political authority. In the beginning, there is absolutely nothing in the records to show that he had any political authority. He was a person who was the chief of the kinship group, and his close relatives together constituted a group known as the Rajanya, or the Rajas. Those who are related to the Rajas, Rajanyas. The income of these people who were close to the Raja, the Rajanyas who were close to the Raja, was the shares that they got as distributed from the booty that is captured in the cattle raids. Occasionally, and this was also used for gift giving to people who sang the praise of the Raja, to give the sacrificial fee for the sacrifices, that is the dakshina, etc. And on certain occasions, what was brought in a cattle raid became insufficient for us. In such situations, voluntary tributes, voluntary offerings were taken from the wish, from the common men. So this was the another source of revenue for the Rajan. The bali, the tribute that is offered. Now there was no regularity about it, how much or at what interval. This was not decided in the beginning. But later we see that some kind of a regularity comes to be attached to this with the periodicity defined, with the quantum defined, etc. So Bali gradually transforms itself into a bhaga, a share. And in later Sanskrit, as all of you know, these two words are synonyms. Bali and bhaga are synonyms, both of which mean a tax. Since it is the resources of the wheat that was used for this, the Raja came to acquire a sobriquet. That is, since he is eating up the resources of the wheat, he was described as a person who eats the wheat. So he was not only Vishampati, but he was also Vishamatta, one who eats the wheat. So it was this kind of a very, very dialectical relationship that we can see between the Rajanyas and the Vaishyas or the wheat. So the heads who were the heads of these tribal groups, that is the Rajas, protect the people by looking after their cattle, and the cattle wealth increased. But here, some kind of an explanation may be necessary. As I said earlier, the Raja is never mentioned as presiding over a particular territory. He is not a Bhupati. We can come across the word Raja, but we don't have to look at him as a king in the sense in which we understand in later court literature and the Raja part in Tamil movies. No. He was only the chief of the group. Such an image was necessary when history was written in the beginning. In the 19th century and early 20th history was written. It was necessary for historians like K.P. Jaiswal or R.C. Majumdar or A.S.L. Taker to say that India had very powerful political organization. India had kings who were very powerful, etc. But that did not really mean. In fact, K.P. Jaiswal goes on to say that this king was assisted by popular assemblies like Sabha, Samiti. He had a bureaucracy. he had an army, etc. But if you look at the documents closely, if you look at the sources closely, you will not find anything of the sort imagined by Jaiswal and historians of his company. What we have is a society in which there was no major social differentiation, where there was no inequality, and therefore no need to protect the interest of one class against that of another. The institution of state was not necessary. And in the absence of the institution of state, there is no king there. What we have is a chief. We have people, particularly kinsmen, relatives, helping him and occasionally taking up plundering raids over the neighboring villages for surplus cattle and surplus wealth. Such wealth that is plundered, brought back home, is disposed of by distributing among the relatives and also by destroying it in the sacrificial fire. In such a society, as I said earlier, there is no relevance for upper and lower sections of society, and institutions such as the caste had no basis here. Usually, those who speak about caste in India start with a quotation from the Purusha Sukta, which starts El Purusham Vyadatu, etc. So into how many parts did they divide? Then Brahmana, Kshatriya, Brahmana, Rajanya, Vaishya, Shudra, etc. And they say that from the Vedic times we had this caste. Unfortunately, that is not the reality. The only time where the expression Shudra occurs in the entire Rigveda is this. That is in the 10th mandala of the Rigveda, which is supposed to be the latest. In the earlier portions of the Rigveda, you don't have the expression Shudra at all. We have the expression Vaishya as derived from wit, as I said earlier, in the sense of a common man, the commonality. It is in that sense that we have it. So it is in this sense that we have to look at gatherings like Sabha and Samiti mentioned there, where people gathered on the occasion of the redistribution of the booty, of the redistribution of things that were brought after a successful plundering raid. It should not be taken as if I am talking about a society which was frozen, which was changeless. No, it was not. It was continuously going through changes. It was continuously going through flux, a situation of flux. For instance, when cattle raids were successfully organized, when booty was brought in, when that was redistributed, some kind of an inequality and unequal distribution, some kind of an inequality came in. Similarly, there was demographic growth, that is, population was increasing. When population was increasing, and when there was this kind of a demand for, as they say in Bible, pastures new and fields afresh, they were looking for better places to go to with their cattle. Now, there is no point in going westward, that is, to the deserts of West Asia, beyond Afghanistan. There is no point in going there. So they tried to migrate eastward towards the watershed, that is, towards the Ganga, towards the Yamuna, and then crossing over to the Yamuna, to the Indo-Gangetic Doab, and then going along the Doab to the confluence of the river Ganga and Yamuna. This kind of an eastward migration is an evidence in the slightly later portions of the Vedic texts. These later texts are familiar with the many peaks of the Himalayas, which familiarity is not seen in relation to the early texts. It is familiar with rivers like Ganga and Yamuna. It has heard about, at least heard about, the two oceans. It knows about the Vindhya ranges. So the Gangetic plains, the Indo-Gangetic, the Ganga, Yamuna, Doab, that became more habitable because of the newly migrated people. At the same time, there is another feature that we have to bear in mind. If you look at the geography of this region of the land between Ganga and Yamuna, we must remember that this is one of the most fertile areas of the country. In India, the most fertile, that is, in terms of productivity of land, this is the most fertile land. Therefore, naturally, it was heavily forested also. Fertile land, when you leave alone, it will get forested. It was a heavily forested land. People with a humble Neolithic hand axe could not do anything in those heavy forests. It is here that archaeology comes to our help. As I was telling you about the middle of the second millennium BC, about 1500 BC to about the beginning of the first millennium BC, say 1000 BCE, we have evidence of the emergence of iron as a very, very important substance with which tools could be made. Before that, there was no iron. And in the Harappan culture, there is absolutely no evidence of iron. And in the later Harappan context, in northwestern India also, where there is this interface between the early Vedic literature and the late Harappan, there is no evidence of iron implements. Iron starts making its appearance from the middle of the second millennium BC, that is 14th, 13th centuries BCE. When iron starts making its appearance, it revolutionizes the whole thing. For one thing, iron requires a very, very high technology to extract itself. To extract iron from iron ore, you require to reach very high temperature. That is, you have to reach about 800 degrees centigrade. To reach 800 degrees centigrade within the limits of the technology that was available in those periods was a great achievement. That is why iron is a latecomer as a metal in human history. But once iron was isolated and once iron was used for making implements, it became the cheapest, hardest, and most efficient method with which tools and implements could be made. Particularly for two things, iron became indispensable: for war and for agriculture. Now, there is this famous archaeologist called Gordon Childe, V. Gordon Childe. Gordon Childe has made this remark that iron democratized war and agriculture. With this democratization of war and agriculture, expansion to the east was easier. The forest could be cut down. The very, very thick forests on the Ganga, Yamuna, Doab, and the fertile plains of Ganga and Yamuna could be cut down. And the forests which are so cleared could be used for purposes of agriculture, which again was helped by iron, because a plow with an iron tip on it was much more efficient than a wooden plow, which was used earlier. Now, the iron-tipped plow. So with these two things, that is the iron axe to cut down the forest to make a large area of land available for cultivation, and the iron-tipped plow for purposes of cultivation, we see that larger areas of land were brought under cultivation with better productivity per acre. So more acres and better productivity per acre. This is what happened in the later Vedic period. This is what we can see in the archaeological culture known as the painted grey ware culture. Now, archaeologists have a habit of identifying cultures by the pottery, which is the signature of that culture. So in the western parts of UP, then slightly later period, as you go eastward, in eastern UP and Bihar, this painted grey ware culture is seen in association with iron implements. That is also seen in association with the performance of Vedic rituals. So the identity between painted grey ware culture and later Vedic literature is established beyond doubt. This means that as we come to the later Vedic period, there was a major revolution that had taken place in matters of economic production. When such a revolution had taken place, naturally there were changes that had affected economy, society, and politics. There's a very interesting story in Shatapatha Brahmana. Now there is a story of this Rajan called Videgha Madhava and his chief priest called Rahugana. When they were living on the banks of the river Saraswati, when Agni Vaishwanara decided to set out to the east. So Agni set out to the east, and Videgha Madhava and Rahugana followed Agni to the east. Agni went burning down all that came its way, the trees, the forests, everything, burning down everything that it came across on its way, and stopped short of the river Sadanira and did not cross that river. Agni did not cross that river. This Sadanira is identified as the river Son in Bihar. So up to that, this happened. And Agni said, no, I am not crossing because that land is unclean land. The land beyond Sadanira is unclean land. So I will not go there, and decent people wouldn't live there. But because Agni had not cleansed it. All the land from Saraswati to Sadanira had been cleansed by Agni, and now it was fit for living for the civilized people, the Brahmanyas, the civilized people. So the Aryavarta, the definition of Aryavarta now includes land up to this. Then Videgha Madhava asks Agni, now tell me, where should I reside? He said, you can reside here. And from that point in time onwards, that land got the name Videgha. This is the story that we have. If we look at this story, we can see allegories of many, many different interesting things. One is the clearing of forests with the help of Agni. Number two is the settling such land which is so cleared. And number three is the establishment of a political authority over a territory that had been created in this manner by burning down forests and by clearing forests. one of the things that we have here, therefore, is the major transition from cattle keeping to agriculture. The economy that we saw in relation to the early Vedic period, based on cattle keeping, based on pastoralism, now gives way to an economy based on agriculture. Agriculture is an extremely labor-intensive process. Although there is no agriculture around us these days, but some of us at least know that agriculture involves considerable labor. Labor that is available within the family will be insufficient to cultivate the entire land that is now brought under cultivation as a result of this drive for expansion. So extra family labor becomes necessary for this. And when extra family labor is brought in, naturally, it involved payment for that, payment of remuneration for that. They have to pay their wages, but you don't have to grudge because you are producing so much. A lot of surplus is being produced as a result of agriculture, and you don't have to grudge paying a share of the surplus that is produced as wages. But this brings in this element of distribution of the surplus on an unequal basis. And when there is this distribution of surplus on an unequal basis, naturally, it leads to a class differentiated society. It is here that we see that Jana gives way to Janapada, that is a territory over which the Jana puts its foot, Janapada, and a territory is identified. The Narapati or Naresha now becomes Bhupati or king in the literal sense. The Mahajanapadas, in the sense of states, come to mean the king. Now, the king has to have his authority delegated to the functionaries of the state, not on the basis of kinship, but on the basis of the work. So in these documents, we see Bhagadukha, we see other kinds of functionaries. So Bali, Bhaga, etc., by now came to be known as tax in the real sense of the term. So in this way, from the early Vedic texts, that is, the first 7 books, not first 7, second through 7th books of the Rigveda, to the later Brahmanas, we see this major transition in society from a pastoral society to an agrarian society, from a tribal, undifferentiated, close to nature society to a differentiated, class-divided society, to a pre-state society to a state society. So the major transition in society is something that the Vedic literature tells us about. So if you ask me to say in one word, what is the historical background of the Vedic literature? My answer will be that it's a grand transformation of society. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. To extend the vote of thanks, let me invite Ms. Shruti P.A., Course Coordinator, UGC STRIDE Component 1, Department of Sanskrit, Sreekrishnpuram B.T. Bhattathiripad College, Mannampatta, Bharat.
Thank you, Arjun. Okay. Namaste to all. Today, it is a fascinating day. I'm very much delighted that our team are able to conduct such wonderful programs. After the successful international webinar, we are organizing a short-term course on Vedic education system, Vedic oral traditions of Vedic education, structural and phonetic perspectives. Of course, a big effort is behind it. All the members of our college, including our beloved principal, Dr. Jayan Eranjeri, are supporting us. And the main factor is all the resource persons are very supportive. And you also, sir, Dr. Kesavan Veluthat, your speech was so thought-provoking. It really made us think. Thank you so much for your valuable speech and wonderful speech. And thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And now I express my pleasure to our principal, Dr. Jayan, sir, for his presence. Thank you, sir. And I thank our team coordinator, UGC STRIDE project coordinator, Dr. Parvati ma'am, for her dedication and effort. Thank you, ma'am. And you audience, always exceptionally helpful to us. Without listeners, there is no benefits to speech. Thank you all the participants for supporting us. Once again, thank you all. And I hope all the sessions will be very interesting. Thank you once again. Thank you all. Thank you, Arjun. Over to you, Arjun.
Thank you, ma'am. There is an important announcement for the students from the organizing committee. All students are requested to join the course using the Zoom link shared on time. Only the participants who are attending all the sessions and submitting their assignments in time will be provided with certificates. Please ensure that you are attending all the sessions and submitting the feedback forms on time. Now it's time for the talk 1. The first talk will be delivered by Dr. Narayanan N M. Is a subject expert of UGC STRIDE project and assistant professor in Sanskrit, Sri Keralavarama College, Trissur. He's a proud member of the prominent Brahmin Mana named Narayanan Mangalata, while most of the members are the Vedic practitioners and the eminent scholars. Dr. Narayanan N M will be delivering a talk based on the topic Rigveda structure and content of the text. A warm wishes and hearty welcome to Dr. Narayanan N M to the Sreekrishnpuram Bhattathiripad College, Mannampatta, Palakkad. Welcome, sir. Over to you.
Hello, sir. Hello. Sir, not audible, sir. Sir, audio is not connected. I think so. Your audio is not connected. Hello. Hello, Narayanan sir. Can you hear me? Hello. Your screen is correct. It is sharing. Oh, okay, now you stopped. Hello, now your screen is visible. Please check your audio.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Now is
Hello.
Audible.
Okay, now
yes,
it is
yes,
audible.
audible. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Screen is also visible.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sure.
Okay. Okay. There are some technical problems. I am extremely sorry for that.
It's okay,
So-
no problem. No problem, sir. It's okay.
Very good morning, everybody. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to the organizers of the seminar, workshop, and I take this opportunity to congratulate the organizers. Okay. Actually, the electricity supply of my home is interrupted. That's why some technical problems we have to face. Anyway, the topic of my class, Rigveda, structure and content of the text. So, Rigveda is most ancient and most prominent text of human being. And this was the oldest literary monument of Indo-European world. Actually, Vedas are not only a religious text, but they also have good poetical elements and which are attracting the readers. Okay, then these are the creation of sages who have the extraordinary poetical intellect. Actually, the hymns are not created by sages. They are realized by them with their supernatural power of penance. We can say, Sakshat Krita Dharma rishayo babhuvuhu. So, the Rigveda Samhita, we are discussing about the structure of the Rigveda Samhita. First of all, the method of the division of Rigveda Samhita, how to divide the Rigveda Samhita. You can see the all Mahakavyas of Kalidasa and Sri Harsha, etc. It has been divided by sargas. So, for Rigveda, there is also two types of dividing method. One is Mandala, Anuvaka, Sukta, and the other method of dividing is Ashtaka, Adhyaya, and Varga. The first type of division is more scientific. Okay. Is it audible? Okay.
Yes, sir. Audible.
Okay. Thank you. So there are 10 mandalas in Rigveda. Okay. And 85 anuvakas, 1017 suktas. This is the first type of dividing method. And the second type, Ashtaka, Adhyaya.
Sir, slide
Varga.
is not changing.
Yes, don't worry.
Yeah, of course. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry.
This slide has been prepared on the Katapayadi system. Okay. What I was speaking, it is not prepared by slide. Okay, don't worry. I will. So the second mode of division is Ashtaka, Adhyaya, and Varga. There are 8 Ashtakas, 64 Adhyayas, and each Ashtaka have 8 Adhyayas. So 8 into 8 is 64. 64 Adhyayas and 2006 Vargas. Okay. And there is a easy method to understand the Mandala, Anuvaka, Sukta, Ashtaka, Adhyaya. This method is done with the help of the Katapayadi system. I think the scholars are very much they can understand the system, Katapayadi system. But I prepared a slide to explain the Katapayadi system. It is only for students. The Katapayadi Paddhati. Katapayadi system is to apply the number for on the letters. So by this method, it is very useful to remember the numbers. I will explain this. How to apply the numbers for the letters. Ka is equal to 1, Kha is equal to 2, Ga 3, Gha 4, Nga 5, then Cha 6, Cha 7, Ja 8, Jha 9, Nya. It is not 10, it is only 0. Again, we will start from Ta. Ta is 1, Ta is for 2. ഇത് കടപയാതി സിസ്റ്റം എന്നാണ് പറയാ. നമ്മൾ അക്ഷരങ്ങൾക്ക് ഓരോ സംഖ്യ കൊടുക്കുന്നു. അതാണ് ഇത് കുട്ടികൾക്ക് വേണ്ടിയാണ് പറയുന്നത്. That's why I am speaking in Malayalam. Okay. This is for students. Okay, let us continue. Ta is equal to 1, Tha is equal to 2, Da is equal to 3, Dha is equal to 4, Na is equal to 5. Then again, Ta 6, Tha 7, Da 8, Dha 9, Na again 0. Then Pa is equal to 1, Bha is equal to 2, Ba 3, Bha 4, Ma 5, Ya 1, Ra 2, La 3, Va 4, Sha 5, Sha 6, Sa 7, Ha 8, La 9. Oh, La is missed. Okay. Okay, La is 9. And Ksha. Ksha is a combined syllable. So, which letter should be accepted when the syllable will be a combined? Ksha. It's a combination of Ka and Sha. So, we have to take the number of Sha. Okay, it is 6. So, the number of Ksha is 6. Like this, we will be able to memorize many numbers, etc. For example, I have a vehicle. Its number is 2427. So I gave the letters for that numbers. Okay. The car number 2427. 2427. So there is a rule. Sankhyanam Vamato Gatihi for this using the Katapayadi system. So according to this rule, Sankhyanam Vamato Gatihi, we have to give the letters for the number is in the descending order, not ascending order. Okay. So, for example, I have given my vehicle's number 2427. So, first letter should be given to 7, then 2, then 4, and then 2. So, I gave the first number Sa, 7 for Sa. Okay. The next 2, Ra. Next coming is 4, Va. Then I again gave it Ra. So Sa Ra Va Ra. And I changed it Sarovara. So my number of my vehicles is Sarovara or Suravaraha. Okay. Like this, we can remember the all numbers. അപ്പൊ ഈ രീതിയിൽ നമുക്ക് ഈ നമ്പറുകൾ ഓർമ്മിച്ച് വെക്കാനുള്ള ഒരു മെത്തേഡാണ് കടപയാതി സിസ്റ്റം. ഓക്കെ. So, by the there is a small shloka in Anushtup meter. With the help of this shloka, we will be able to understand how many mandalas, how many anuvakas, how many suktas, and how many ashtakas, adhyayas, vargas in Rigveda. Okay, this is the shloka. Janannapi dvisha modam. Can you see this slide?
Yes, sir. It is
Slide
visible.
is visible. Okay, okay. Janannapi dvisha modam sayajna padana naraha rasandhinnaya mamsado naraha asya jaladhipaha. With the help of this shloka, we will be able to understand the mandala, ashtaka, etc. How is it? See. Janan. You have to remember the number of Ja is at 8. Okay. And Na is 0. So 0, 8. Sorry? Somebody is switch on, unmute. Are unmute ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ടല്ലോ.
No, it's
Okay,
okay.
Okay. Okay. So first Janan. Janan, the number of Ja is 8. Okay. Number of Na is 0. So as per the rule Sankhyanam Vamato Gatihi, 0, 8 will come. So 8 Ashtaka. Okay. So number of Ashtaka is Ja, Janan. Api. Oh, I forgot to say something. All Swaraksharas are given the 0 number. Okay. From A to Aha. All Swaraksharas is equal to 0. So api, I is swara, pa is 1. So as per the rule of Sankhyana Mamato Gatihi, 0, 1, 0. 10 mandala, dasha mandalani. Okay. Then dvisha, jananapi dvisha. So we have to take the first letter in the last. Okay. First sha and dvi. Sha is denote 6. Okay. Dvi. When the combined letter, the second syllable should be used. So dvi means there we have to use va. നമുക്ക് ദ്വ എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ ദായും വായും ചേർന്നിട്ടുള്ള അക്ഷരമാണ്. രണ്ടാമത്തെ അക്ഷരത്തിന്റെ സംഖ്യയാണ് എടുക്കേണ്ടത്. ദ്വ. So va, the number of va is 4. Okay. So 64 adhyayas. 64 adhyayaha. Modam. The number of ma is equal to 5 and the number of da, it is 8. So as per the rule of Sankhyana Mamatogati, modam means 85. 85 anuvakas. Then next, sayajna pa. So sa is equal to 7. Ya is equal to 1. Nyaha. Nya. Nya is 0. Pa 1. So as per the rule of Sankhyana Mamatogati, 1017. 1017 suktani. Sukta. So 1017 suktas are there in Rigveda. Then tanangaraha. Ra is equal to 2. Na, both are 0. Okay. Then ra, 2. Okay. So total 2006 vargas. In the descending order, 2006. 2006 vargas. The next, rasam bhinnaya. So as per the rule, Sankhyana Mamato Gati, ra is for 2. So we have to take from the descending order. So ya is equal to 1. Na is equal to 0. Bhi is equal to 4. Sam is equal to 7. Ra is equal to 2. അപ്പോൾ ഇത് രസം ഭിന്നായ എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ സംഖ്യാനാം വാമതോഗതി എന്നുള്ള നിയമം അനുസരിച്ച് 10472 മന്ത്രാഹ. 10,472 mantras. Then mamsado naraha. Ma is equal to 5. Sa is equal to 7. Da is equal to 8. Then na is equal to 0. Ra is equal to 2. So as per the rule of Sankhyana Mamatogati, ra should become first, then na, then da, then sa, then ma. So 20,875 ardharchaha. What is the ardharcha? Half of a mantra is ardharcha. In Laukika Samskrita, we will say Shlokasya Purvardha. Purvardha, Uttarardha. ഒരു ശ്ലോകത്തിന്റെ പൂർവാർദ്ധം ഉത്തരാർദ്ധം എന്ന് പറയുന്ന പോലെയാണ് വേദത്തില് അതില് അർദ്ധർച്ചം അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അന്തങ്ങൾ എന്നാണ് പറയാ. ഓക്കെ. സോ 20,875 ardharchas. Then tasya jal.
Sorry, sir. Please unmute. Sir, please. You are muted now. Please unmute, sir. Sir, please. You are not audible now. You are muted, sir. Please unmute yourself.
Now it's audible?
Yes, 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 sir.
Okay, okay. What happened? Some technical problem. So, Asya Jaladhipaha. Okay. Asya Jaladhipaha. So, first you should take the letter Pa. Pa is equal to 1. Then Dha, 9. Then La, 3. Now is it audible now?
Yes, yes, sure.
Okay, okay. I don't know how we can mute. Ja is 8. Sia is equal to 1. Ta is equal to 6. So, as per the rule of Sankhyanam Vamatogati, 1,93,816 Padani. So, Rigvedatiലെ ആകെയുള്ള പദങ്ങള് 1,93,816 പദങ്ങളാണുള്ളത്. Okay. Now, this is the Katapayadi system. With the help of this system, we will able to understand the Ashtaka, Mandala, Adhyaya, Anuvaga, Sukta, Varga, Mantra, Ardharcha, and Pada. Okay. Then let us come first of mandalas. How many mandalas are there? 10 mandalas are there. Okay. So let us discuss about the sages who had realized or created. I don't know what is the correct word. Creation or realization. Sakshatkara or Srishti. Sakshatkrita dharmana Shio Bhubhu. Okay, whatever it be. The first mandala will start from the Madhuchandas. He is the son of sage Vishwamitra. So the Rishi is Vaishwamitra Madhuchanda. From first mandala, 51 to 191 suktas had been realized, Sakshatkrita, realized by Savya, Nodhas, Parashara, Gotama, Kutsa, Kakshivan, Paruchepa, son of Devadasa, Devodasi Paruchepa. Then Dirghatamas, son of Uchathya, Agastya, son of Mitravaruna. So these all rishis are realized the suktas from 51 to 191. In the second mandala, the main sage is Gritsamada, son of Shunaka, Shaunako Gritsamadaha. And there are from 43 suktas in the second mandala and 429 mantras created by Gritsamada. Then third mandala, 62 suktas are there and 617 mantras. It has been realized by Vishwamitra, son of Gathi, and the ancestors of Vishwamitra. Okay. Ancestors and predecessors of Vishwamitra. Then the fourth mandala, there are 58 suktas in fourth mandala. 589 mantras are there. It has been realized by Vamadeva and his predecessors. Vamadeva, son of Gautama. In the fifth mandala, there are 87 suktas are there. And 726 mantras. It has been realized by Atri and his predecessors. Atri is the son of Bhumi. So Bhaumotri, when we will chant the Rigveda, the Rishi will introduce Bhaumatri. Then the sixth mandala, there are 75 suktas and 765 mantras are there. It has been realized by Bharadwaja and his Parampara. Okay. Then the seventh mandala, there are, I think it is the biggest mandala. No, it is not big, not the biggest. There are 104 suktas and 841 mantras. It has been created by Vasishtha and his Parampara. The first 66 sukta of 8th mandala has been realized by Kannava and his predecessors. From 67 to 103, sukta, number of suktas, from 67 to 103 is realized by various seers, not a particular seer. Okay. Then there are some additions known as Balakilya.
Sir, please unmute.
Now it is audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I don't know what is happening. It's muting automatically. Okay. Then the ninth mandala. Ninth mandala is most famous mandala. It's known as Pavamanam. Pavamana suktas are there. 114 suktas are there. Okay. And this mandala, there are 1,108 mantras are there. And more than 60 sages have been realized this mandala. Not one or two, 60 sages. 60 seers are realized this 9th mandala. And the last 10th mandala is some unique from the other mandalas. Yes, this is the highest number of suktas are there, 191 suktas. Okay. And what is the peculiarity of 10th mandala? There are very famous suktas, which is related to the modern society and philosophy, etc., etc. the famous Nasadiya Sukta, Purusha Sukta, which are related to the creation of the universe. And Vivaha Sukta, Aksha Sukta. Aksha Sukta is very famous. It is a story of a gambler and the consequence of the addiction of gambling has been described in that sutta. Okay. And total, okay, it's okay. So this 10th mandala is, some scholars are saying 10th mandala is most, which is Arvachina. And first and 10th mandalas is just modern to compare to other mandalas. Okay. Is it audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
No.
Yes, sir.
Now let's come to the point of the content. The content of Rigveda is mostly the praises of various gods like Indra, Agni, Marut, Yama, Rudra, etc. These praises or stutis, most of these stutis are using for the personal needs of the human being. അതായത് മനുഷ്യൻ സ്വന്തം ജീവിതത്തിലെ ആവശ്യങ്ങൾ നിറവേറ്റാനായിട്ട് പ്രകൃതിയിലെ പല ശക്തികളോടും ചെയ്യുന്ന പ്രാർത്ഥനയാണ് ഋഗ്വേദത്തിലെ പ്രധാന കണ്ടൻസ്. As I have told, there are many hymns which are related to philosophical aspects and the creation of universe. It's also many hymns are there, which
So
is
please on your video, please. Can you?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Is it okay? Okay.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
So there are many hymns are there, which is explain the creation of universe, and some other type of suttas are there, which is explain the retreat of bad habits like gambling. Okay, the Aksha Sukta is most famous for the what is human, it is very useful for the social reformation. Okay. For some personal problems, I couldn't prepare any written paper. That's why I'm extremely sorry to the organizers. Okay. So the contents of Rigveda is what is the Aksha Sukta, Vivaha Sukta. Vivaha Sukta is very prominent sukta in the Rigveda, which is related to the family life of human being. Not it is related to any celestial being. Okay. What should do a bride when she went to the groom's home? Samrajni Shushure Bhava, very famous mantra. Samrajni Shushure Bhava, Samrajni Shushram Bhava, Nanandari Samrajni Bhava, Samrajni Adidevrishu. Kalidasa has taken this idea for his shloka in the Shakuntala 4th Act. Shusrushasya Gurun Guru Priyasakhi Vrittim Sapatni Jane Bharturu Vipragrita Viroshanataya Masma Pradipangama Vishtham Bhava Dakshina Parijane Bhagyeshan Segni Yan Devam Grihani Padam Yuvatayo Vama Kulasyadhaya So, like this, there are many examples we can see from the Rigveda, which the later rishis or later poets are taken. It is from Rigveda. Rigveda is the source of many later poetic creations. In Mahabharata, the situation of gambling, it has been taken from the Rigveda. Okay, Mahabharata and Naishadhiya Charita also. So they are explaining the consequences of this gambling. Like nowadays, it is very popular, the drinking habit and using drugs. So what are the consequences of this? They will lose all wealth and home, family. Okay, so this is what is happening in the Aksha Sukta itself also. When you will going through the Aksha Sukta, the the gambler lost everything in gambling. Okay, and he again want to get some money as debt, as our loan, but nobody, no one is ready to give him money. Okay, at the last he went to for robbery. Okay, but in the last, the source of all energy of the world, Surya, Savita, is advising him that Akshayir Ma Divya, Krishimit Krishasva, don't play with this dice. Please do agriculture. Okay. Vitteremasva bahumanyamanaha. Tatra gava kitava tatra jaya tanme vichaste savitaya Maria. You have to do agriculture and you will get many more money from the agriculture and your family life will be very happy. Okay, so such type of advices are we will get from the Rigveda. Okay, now it's the time for 12 o'clock. I should stop my presentation. Anyway, it is not a good presentation, I think. I know that because I don't have the opportunity to prepare such a good paper due to some personal problems. Okay. Anyway, I express my gratitude to the organizations and all scholars are assembled in this platform for listening me with the patient. Okay. So thank you very much.
Sir, please, can you chant any suktas for the participants? I think it will more interesting.
Okay. How much
Dear
time?
participants, he is a Vedic scholar, a well-known Vedic scholar. Okay,
how much time is there? 2 minutes, 5 minutes?
Yeah, sure, sir.
Okay, 5 minutes. Sir.
Yes.
Om Kanikrada Janusham Bruvana Iyartivacha Maritevanam Sumangalascha Shakune Bhavasima Tvakachidabhibha Vishvyavidal Matvashyena Udvadhinma Suparno Matvavidadishuman Viro Asta Pitriamanu Pradishankani Sumangalo Bhadravadiva Deha Avakranda Dakshinato Brihanam Sumangalo Bhadravadisha Kunte Anastena Ishatamaghasham So Brihat त्वदेम विदथे सुवीरा प्रदक्षिणिदभिगृह्णन्ति कारवो वयो वदन्त ऋतुथा शकुन्तयः उभे वाचौ वदति सामगा इव गायत्रं त्रैष्टुभं चानुराजति उद्गातेव शकुने सामगायसि ब्रह्मपुत्र इव सवनेषु शंससि वृषेव वाजी शिशुमतीरपीत्या सर्वतो नः शकुने भद्रमावद विश्वतो नः शकुने पुण्यमावद आवदंस्त्वं शकुने भद्रमावदतूष्णीमासीनः सुमतिं चिकिद्धिना यदुल्पतन् वदसि कर्करि यथा बृहद्वदेम विदथे सुवीरा स्वस्ति नो मिमीतामश्विना भगः स्वस्ति देव्यदितिरनर्वणा स्वस्ति पूषा असुरो दधातु नः स्वस्ति द्यावा पृथिवी सुचेतुना स्वस्तये वायुमुपब्रवामहै सोमं स्वस्ति भुवनस्य यस्पतिः बृहस्पतिं सर्वगणं स्वस्तये स्वस्तय आदित्यासो भवन्तु नः विश्वे देवानो अद्या स्वस्तये वैश्वानरो वसुरग्निः स्वस्तये देवा अवन्तु भव स्वस्तये स्वस्ति नो रुद्रः पात्वं हसा स्वस्ति मित्रावरुणा स्वस्ति पथ्ये रेवती स्वस्ति न इन्द्रश्चाग्निश्च स्वस्ति नो अदिते कृधी स्वस्ति पन्थामनुचरेम सूर्या चन्द्रमसा विवा पुनर्ददताघ्नता जानता संगमे मही. This is known as Mangala Sukta. So by chanting this sukta, I wish all the best for this workshop.
Thank you, sir.
And
Thank you.
Okay. മംഗല സൂക്തം കൊണ്ട് ഈ വർക്ക്ഷോപ്പിന് എല്ലാവിധ ആശംസകളും അർപ്പിക്കുന്നു. നല്ലൊരു സംരംഭമായിട്ടാണ് ഞാൻ ഇതിനെടുക്കുന്നത്. എല്ലാവിധ ഭാവുകങ്ങളും നേരുന്നു. താങ്ക് യു.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you.
എൻ്റെ പ്രസന്റേഷൻ വളരെ മോശമായിരുന്നു എന്ന് എനിക്ക് മനസ്സിലായിട്ടുണ്ട്. പ്രശ്നങ്ങൾ കാരണം എനിക്കത് ശരിക്കും പ്രിപ്പയർ ചെയ്യാനൊരു സമയം കിട്ടിയില്ല.
It's fine, sir.
എന്തായാലും
It's okay.
something is better than nothing. Okay, if the scholars are happy, then it is very great. And okay, thank you anyway.
Thank you very much, sir. Now it's time for the discussion. Students who have some questions can ask him and clarify your doubts. Please raise your hand and ask the question by unmuting yourself.
കുട്ടികൾക്കാർക്കെങ്കിലും എന്തെങ്കിലും സംശയങ്ങളുണ്ടോ? സ്റ്റുഡൻസ്
കുട്ടികളെ മലയാളത്തിൽ ചോദിച്ചോളൂ. എന്തെങ്കിലും സംശയം ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ചോദിച്ചോളൂ.
കുട്ടികൾക്ക് വേണ്ടിയാണ് ഞാൻ ഈ മറ്റേ ഇതൊക്കെ തയ്യാറാക്കിയത്. കടപയാതി സിസ്റ്റത്തിന്റെ ഇതൊക്കെ.
ഞാൻ സ്വാമിനാഥനാണ്.
യെസ്, SVTB കോളേജ്.
യെസ്. ഒരു
ഞാൻ അറിയാം. യെസ്.
ഈ സംഖ്യയിൽ കഖ ഗംഗ 1 2 3 again 5 6 ലൈക്ക് ദാറ്റ്. അപ്പോ അതിൽ ഏതാണ് ആദ്യം നമ്മൾ സ്വീകരിക്കേണ്ടത്? ഇപ്പൊ അതേ ഫോർ എക്സാമ്പിൾ ഇപ്പൊ 1 എന്നതിന് തന്നെ കാനും ഉണ്ട് ടാനും ഉണ്ട്. ടായും 1 ആണ്, കായും 1 ആണ്. അപ്പൊ അതിൽ ഏതാ നമ്മള്?
അതിപ്പോ നമ്മള് ഏത് വാക്കാണ് നമ്മൾ കൊടുക്കാൻ ഉദ്ദേശിക്കുന്നത് അവിടെ കുറച്ച് നമ്മുടെ പോയറ്റിക് ക്രിയേഷൻ കൂടി അപ്ലൈ ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട് അല്ലേ? ഇപ്പൊ ഞാന് നേരത്തെ ഒരു ഉദാഹരണം പറഞ്ഞു. സാര വാര 4 അക്ഷരം കൊടുത്തു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ നമ്മൾ സംഖ്യ ക്ലിയർ ആവും. പക്ഷെ അവിടെ നമുക്ക് സുരവരഹ എന്ന് കൊടുക്കാം, സുരന്മാര് ശ്രേഷ്ഠനായിട്ടുള്ളത്. സരോവരം എന്ന് കൊടുക്കാം. ഓക്കെ, അപ്പൊ അത് നമ്മുടെ ഭാവനയ്ക്ക് അനുസരിച്ച് എന്ത് വേണമെങ്കിൽ കൊടുക്കാം. അപ്പൊ വേറൊരു എക്സാമ്പിൾ പറയാം. 950 ഒരു നമ്പർ. ഓക്കെ, ഒരാള് അതിന് അശുദ്ധം എന്ന് പേര് കൊടുത്തു. ശരിയാണ്, 059. ഓക്കെ, മറ്റൊരാൾ അതിന് പേര് കൊടുത്തത് അമളി എന്നാണ്. ഓക്കെ, അപ്പൊ അതും ശരിയാണ്. അപ്പോ ഇതിന് അനുയോജ്യമായ ഈ നമ്പർ വരാവുന്ന രീതിയിൽ അനുയോജ്യമായ ഏത് ഇതിലും കൊടുക്കാം. എൻ്റെ ഒരു റിലേറ്റീവ് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു, വലിയൊരു സ്കോളറാണ്, CMP രാമൻ നമ്പൂതിരി, അവിടെ ഒറ്റപ്പാലത്തടുത്ത് മനുശ്ശേരി അടുത്ത്. അദ്ദേഹം മരിച്ചുപോയി. അദ്ദേഹം തന്റെ പിൻകോഡ് നമ്പർ കൊടുത്തത് എങ്ങനെയാണ്? പരിശുദ്ധ സീത 679521 പിൻകോഡ് നമ്പർ. സോ he gave the പരിശുദ്ധ സീത 679521. അപ്പൊ ഇതുപോലെ നമ്മുടെ ഭാവനയ്ക്ക് അനുസരിച്ച് എന്ത് നമ്പർ വേണം, ഏത് അക്ഷരം വേണമെങ്കിൽ കൊടുക്കാം. ഓക്കെ, പക്ഷെ it should be suitable for the particular number and particular syllable. ആ അക്ഷരത്തിനും ഇതനുസരിച്ചുള്ളതായിരിക്കണം എന്ന് മാത്രം. ഇപ്പം ഒരു 64 എന്നുള്ളൊരു കലകളെ കുറിച്ച് പറയാറുണ്ട് അല്ലേ? അല്ലെങ്കിൽ 46 എന്നുള്ളൊരു സംഖ്യ. 46 എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ, അല്ല സോറി 64 എന്ന് പറയാം. വേഷം എന്ന് കൊടുത്തു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ 64 അല്ലേ? അത് വിഷം എന്നാക്കുകയാണെങ്കിലും തെറ്റില്ല, 64 തന്നെയാണ്. അപ്പൊ ഈ രീതിയിൽ നമ്മുടെ ഭാവനയ്ക്ക് അനുസരിച്ച് ഏത് ഇതിലും വേണമെങ്കിലും കൊടുക്കാം.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Girija ma'am, you can unmute and you can ask.
Okay, happy to see you, sir. Again.
Thank you, Girija. After a long time. Girija was my student in degree class.
I'm working as a tuition teacher in study at Chanakya. It was
clear.
I am working as a tuition teacher in study at Chanakya.
Okay.
So I just have a doubt that in 8th mandala you told that there are some additions, bala khilya. Yeah. But at that time your mic got mute. It was not completed like.
ശരി. ഓക്കെ. എട്ടാമത്തെ മണ്ഡലത്തില് ഒരു 11 സൂക്തങ്ങള്. There are 11 suktas in the 8th mandala, which is known as Balakhilya, which is not the part of main body of the Rigveda Samhita. Okay, it is the appendix. It is known as.
Got stuck.
Sir. Sir, not audible, sir. Sir? Are you there?
He was rejoining now. Sir, it's not audible, sir. Sir, sir, please. It's not audible, sir. Sir, please connect your audio.
ഹലോ, ഇസ് ഇറ്റ് ഓഡിബിൾ?
Yes, yes.
അതെ, ചെറിയൊരു പ്രശ്നം വന്നു, ടെക്നിക്കൽ പ്രോബ്ലം.
Okay, okay.
ഇന്ന് മൊത്തം പ്രോബ്ലം. കറണ്ടും പോയി, ഹോട്ട്സ്പോട്ടും ശരിക്കും കണക്ട് ആവുന്നില്ല, അങ്ങനെയുള്ള കുറെ പ്രശ്നമായിരുന്നു. അതൊക്കെ എന്റെ പ്രസന്റേഷനെ ബാധിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്. ഓക്കെ, അപ്പൊ ഗിരിജ ചോദിച്ച ചോദ്യം, ബാലഖില്യ സൂക്തങ്ങള് 8ാമത്തെ മണ്ഡലത്തിലെ 11 സൂക്തങ്ങള് ബാലഖില്യങ്ങൾ എന്നറിയപ്പെടുന്നുണ്ട്. ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് നോട്ട് ദ പാർട്ട് ഓഫ് മെയിൻ ബോഡി ഓഫ് ഋഗ്വേദ സംഹിത. ഇത് പരിശിഷ്ടങ്ങളായിട്ടാണ് കണക്കാക്കുന്നത്. ഓക്കെ, any doubts?
Thank you, sir.
One more doubt is there from Sangeet Krishnan. He is asking, can we write decimals using this system?
No, it's not the decimal. Decimal is, as far as my is concerned, decimal is not there.
In one news we're tracking, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will today chair and open the way that the UNSC on maritime security. Prime Minister Modi will be the first Indian Prime Minister.
Is there any other doubts from the students?
Hello, I am Neelakanthan. Student ഒന്നുമല്ല. എനിക്കൊരു സംശയം, ഈ കാലനിർണയത്തെ പറ്റി എന്തെങ്കിലും അതിൽ പറയുന്നുണ്ടോ ഋഗ്വേദത്തില്?
ഋഗ്വേദത്തിൽ കാലനിർണയത്തെ കുറിച്ച് ഒരുപാട് സൂക്തങ്ങൾ, കാലത്തിനെ കുറിച്ച്, കാലചക്രത്തിനെ കുറിച്ചൊക്കെ ഒരു അസ്യവാമീയ സൂക്തം എന്നുള്ള വളരെ ഫേമസ് ആയിട്ട് ഒരു സൂക്തമുണ്ട്. പക്ഷെ അത് ഈ കടപയാതി സിസ്റ്റമായിട്ട് ബന്ധമൊന്നുമില്ല. കാലനിർണയത്തെ കുറിച്ച് ഒരു സൂക്തമുണ്ട്, അസ്യവാമീയ സൂക്തം.
പക്ഷെ അപ്പൊ നമുക്കത് വെച്ച് ഏകദേശം ഒരു സമയം, ഒരു പീരീഡ് നിശ്ചയിക്കാൻ പറ്റുമോ? അതുകൊണ്ട് ഏതെങ്കിലും ഒരു സൂചന കിട്ടുമോ?
ഏതാണ്ട്. പക്ഷെ അതിന് കുറെ മറ്റേ ജ്യോതിശാസ്ത്രത്തിന്റെ ഇതൊക്കെ വേണ്ടി വരും. സാധാരണ നമുക്ക് ഈ ഋഗ്വേദത്തിന്റെ ഭാഷ്യമോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അതൊന്നും വെച്ചിട്ട് നമുക്ക് കണ്ടുപിടിക്കാൻ പറ്റില്ല. ജ്യോതിശാസ്ത്രത്തിന്റെ ഒരു ഹെൽപ്പ് വേണം. അങ്ങനെ ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്, ജാക്കോബി അവരൊക്കെ ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. ഋഗ്വേദത്തിന്റെ കാലം നിർണ്ണയിക്കാനായിട്ട് ജാക്കോബി, ബാലഗംഗാധര തിലകൻ ഇവരൊക്കെ അതിനെക്കുറിച്ച് കുറെ കാൽക്കുലേഷൻസ് നടത്തിയിട്ടുണ്ട്.
അത് ഞാൻ ചിലതൊക്കെ ഞാൻ കണ്ടു. പക്ഷെ അതിൽ പല വ്യത്യസ്തമായ അഭിപ്രായങ്ങളുണ്ട്. ഇപ്പൊ ഈ 6, 7, 8 മണ്ഡലങ്ങളാണ് ആദ്യമായി വന്നത്, കമ്പോസ് ചെയ്ത അല്ലെങ്കിൽ
ഒന്നും 10 ഏതാണ്ട് ലാസ്റ്റ് ആണെന്നാണ് പറയുന്നത്. 10ാമത്തെ മണ്ഡലവും 1ാമത്തെ മണ്ഡലവും പ്രായണ അർവാചീനങ്ങൾ മോഡേൺ ആണെന്നാ പറയുന്നത്, ടു കമ്പയർ ടു അതർ മണ്ഡലാസ്.
അപ്പൊ അതിന്റെ ഭാഷ നോക്കുമ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് അറിയാൻ പറ്റില്ല, അതിന്റെ ഇത്രയും വർഷത്തെ പഴക്കമുള്ള ഭാഷയുടെ വ്യത്യാസം തന്നെ അറിയില്ല. ലാംഗ്വേജിന്റെ
ഭാഷയുടെ വ്യത്യാസങ്ങളിൽ നമുക്കൊരു പരിധി വരെ കിട്ടും സംസ്കൃതത്തിലെ പ്രയോഗങ്ങൾ. പക്ഷേ ഈ പ്രയോഗിക്കുന്നവരുടെ പാണ്ഡിത്യത്തിനനുസരിച്ച് ഭാഷയിൽ ചെറിയ ചെറിയ വ്യത്യാസം വരാം. ഇപ്പൊ പ്രായേണ 1ാമത്തെയും 10ാമത്തെയും മണ്ഡലത്തിലെ ഭാഷ കൂടുതൽ ലൗകിക സംസ്കൃതത്തിനോട് അടുത്ത് നിൽക്കുന്നുണ്ട് എന്നാണ് പറയുന്നത്. അതിപ്പോ മുഴുവൻ അത് കാലഘട്ടത്തിന്റെ വ്യത്യാസമായിക്കൊള്ളണമെന്നില്ല. ഇത് ഈ പ്രയോഗിക്കുന്ന കവികളുടെ ഇതുമായിരിക്കാം. പക്ഷെ എന്തായാലും നമുക്ക് പല കാര്യങ്ങളും വെച്ച് നോക്കുമ്പോൾ ഒന്നാമത്തെയും പത്താമത്തെയും മണ്ഡലം പ്രായണ അർവാചീനാണ്, കുറച്ചും കൂടി പുതിയതാണ് എന്ന് പറയാം.
ശരി. ഓക്കെ, താങ്ക് യു.
പിന്നെ any other questions or clarifications?
Sir, can you
Yes.
hear me?
Yeah.
Sir, സംയുക്താക്ഷരം യൂസ് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ കടബയാതി സിസ്റ്റത്തില് സംയുക്താക്ഷരം യൂസ് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ അതിന്റെ സെക്കൻഡ് ലെറ്റർ മാത്രമേ എടുക്കുള്ളൂ അല്ലേ?
അതെ. അസ്യ എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോ യ എന്നുള്ള ഒന്ന് എന്നുള്ള നമ്പറാണ് എടുക്കുക. സ യ എന്നാണല്ലോ. യ അതാണ് തസ്യ ജലാധിപ എന്നുള്ളിടത്ത് ഞാൻ കാണിച്ചത്. ഓക്കെ, അപ്പൊ അത് രണ്ടാമത്തെയാണ്. സംയുക്താക്ഷരം വരുമ്പോ ഇപ്പൊ ശക്തി എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോ കഥ എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോ തായുടെ 6 എന്നുള്ള ഇതാണ് എടുക്കുക. ഓക്കെ. അപ്പൊ അതങ്ങനെ ഒരു നിയമമുണ്ട്. അതുപോലെ സംഖ്യാനാം വാമതോഗതി എന്നുള്ള ഒരു നിയമം അനുസരിച്ച് നമ്മൾ വിപരീതമായിട്ടാണ് എടുക്കുക, ഡിസെൻഡിങ് ഓർഡറിലാണ് എടുക്കുക, അവരോഹണ ക്രമത്തില്.
താങ്ക് യു സർ.
മറ്റെന്തെങ്കിലും ഡൗട്ട്സ്?
ഇല്ലെന്ന് തോന്നുന്നു. അർജുൻ?
I think there is no more doubts remaining.
Okay.
Now it's time for vote of thanks. To extend the vote of thanks, I would like to call upon Priyanka P, student of Department of Sanskrit, Sreekrishnpuram Bhattathiripad College, Mannampatta.
Good afternoon to all. On this occasion, I would like to present the vote of thanks. I take this opportunity to thank the respected chief guest of this function, Dr. Narayanan N M, Assistant Professor of Sri Keralavarama College, Trissur, for attending this function in his busy schedule and giving a wonderful section about the topic Rigveda, structure and content of the text. Thank you, sir. I would like to thank our beloved audience, research scholars, faculties from other institutions, audience from the matas, and scholars interested in this topic for making this function as a grand success. Once again, I thank one and all present here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to present.
Thank you, sir.
Once again, thanks.
Thank you, sir. Students, please note, there is a feedback form presented in the chat box. Please fill it accordingly. With this, we are coming to an end of the first day of the short-term course hosted by UGC STRIDE Component 1. Thank you for joining. Wish you a wonderful day.
Thank you, sir.